And so that was one of the big turnarounds where I didn't start going to church right away then. It wasn't until after I met my now wife, Charlotte.
Who's lovely, by the way. She's so delightful.
She's sweet. She's the best. Yeah. She's the best. She just came on and started riding right away. You know, it was like she had my back. Like coming in the first time we actually ever met was a UFC fight night.
Okay.
and September 25th of 2021. And we're talking a little bit online, and she started following me on Instagram, and she followed my Chief Americano page, with Brian and I both share. And I told her, I go, hey, come over to my private page so we don't cross streams, you know? And I had done a live with a lawyer and a friend of mine talking about what is done in the legislative body. They will do something called a gut and amend bill. So 3 months earlier, they'll go, hey, save the puppy bill. You go, that sounds good. 3 months when you come back to vote on it, they had taken everything out about Save the Puppy and they put something else in it. So what you do, because you're busy, you go, oh yeah, I remember that Save the Puppy bill. Yeah, cool, we're fine. So this was a telecommunications bill, which then they gutted and put in COVID restrictions, where if you didn't have the jab, you could not even go into a cover. You couldn't go into a gas station with a covering. Even if the gas station is open air, but has a covering, if you don't have the shot, you couldn't go. Like, that's what they wanted to pass. So we did a little live about that. And that evening, I told Charlotte to come to my page. The next day, Instagram removed my account. So if I didn't tell her to go, I probably wouldn't know, because I don't remember. Everyone's screen name something crazy, you know, like up, down, dog, left, 68. And you're like, what does that mean? Your name's Aaron, you know? So she comes over and they took it down. I was like, wow, they took it down. Her and I are just kind of flirting back and forth. And one time I asked her, I was like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? She was like, oh, I'm going to a Bible study dinner. I was like, oh. I like
Bible studies.
Yeah, right.
I like dinners.
Well, close. She actually flipped it on me. I was like, oh, that's cool. She goes, what are you doing? And that's one thing I could tell if a girl's even worth talking to in LA. Yeah. Because she'll ask her the question back to you. A lot of times where you'd be like, so how old are you? She goes, oh, I'm 22. And you go, okay, you don't care how old I am. All right. But where she was coming back, I'm like, it's such a low bar in LA for that, where it's like, you just asked me a question back. Okay, I like you. And so she goes, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm having some friends over watching UFC. She goes, I like fights. I was like, oh. And so that weekend was, I was like, well, you're free to come over after if you want. Fights go till about 9:30. And there was this fighter on there who's like one of my favorite fighters of all time, Valentina Shevchenko. She's a Polish fighter. A little short blonde, literally the same exact dimensions as Charlotte. And she's like, but at the end of every fight, she dances, and Charlotte's a trained dancer. So I'm like, oh, you're going to love it. There's just, and Charlotte started doing like stunt work. So she's doing flips and stuff. And I seen her on Instagram. So, and she's doing dance. I'm like, you're going to love this. What she's this, she's that, you're going to love her. And she's like, okay. So that evening, she hit me up when she was leaving. She's like, I'll leave. I should be over like 45 minutes. I was like, okay. When she gets to my house and she's like, I'm here, I'll be walking up the driveway. She starts walking up the driveway at the same time Valentina is walking in towards like up the walkway to the ring. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. So I go open the door, and I have at the house that I had a motion light. So she's walking up, the light hits her, and she's just like, it's just bright, like a bright angel. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, oh damn it. But I'm pretty good at poker, so I'm like, hey. Yeah. She's like, hi. She has like caramel apple, which was a whole nother thing, because I'm like, she brought some caramel apples. And I'm thinking, Eve? No. Oh, no. Exactly. So she's like, do you like caramel apples? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, hurry up, the fight's starting. She's like, get in here. She's like, okay. And I'm like, and she comes and she's walking by. I'm like, wait, first you gotta give me a hug. She's like, give me a hug. I'm like, oh, damn it.
You smell like strawberries.
Yeah. Actually, her name online is Strawberry. So it's like, so she goes, I'm like, she gives me a hug, and I'm like, oh, damn it. I'm like, get in the house. And she's like, okay. And so we go, and it's my best friend, Brian, another buddy of mine, Phil, and her and myself. It's actually only four of us, and we're watching the fights. And I remember we talked earlier, and I had started playing the guitar, learning to play the guitar. And we were joking. I was like, well, I could play you a song. She's like, I'd love that, all that. So we're watching the fights. Valentina wins, just in case anyone was wondering. Valentina wins. Good night. And of course, I'm coming over behind her close. I'm like, well, that's called a Kimura. You know, that right there, that'll knock anyone out. Like in her ear, she's like, oh, really? You know,
turns out she hates UFC.
No. She loves it now. Like we watched, we sat down, we saw the John Jones fight. It's like a whole thing. But yeah, then after everyone else left, we went and like I played music. We ended up hanging out, playing music. I'm playing music and I'm singing for someone for the first time, doing guitar and singing. So it was the first time I did that, and it's like comfortable. And she's like a little fairy dancing around, you know. And she gets my bongos. She's playing. We're talking. She leaves at like 4 a.m. I'm like, whoa, you know, this was amazing. And I remember she told me, I was like, God, this is the first time I ever sang and played in front of film. She's like, really? She's like, it was just like natural. I'm like, whoa. Like she just it was just comfortable. It was right. You know, and she was driving an hour back to go stay where she was staying. So I stayed up to wait till she got home, and she called me and within 30 days, I asked her to marry me.
Good man.
You know, I was like, and this is the difference between men and women. I think it's funny. So like a woman, you can be like, can you marry me? Here's a ring. Oh my God, right. So I didn't have a ring or anything at the time. And we were actually going to go see a Christian brother of ours. He was doing a performance where he was singing and stuff at this spot. So we're on Sunset Boulevard. We just got like some meatballs, some fried mushrooms, and like I think a slice or two of pizza at the spot right around the corner. We're sitting in this outside alcove where it just has some chairs, and we're right there on Sunset Boulevard, waiting to go in. I'm looking at her, and I was like, "Hey, will you marry me?" She looked at me. She goes, "Really?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Yeah." I go, shake on it. Because as a man, this means that it's like, so she shook my hand. I was like, she shook. You know, to me, that was the beautiful part. Like I asked her, that was the beautiful part for her. For me, I was like, she shook my hand, you know? And so, yeah. And so we you know, she said yes. And we're like, okay, so we're going to do this thing, right?
Now, did she have any questions about, is this going too quick? Are you sure you mean this? None of that. She knew you were serious.
I was dead serious. Like, I think one thing she gleaned from me when we first, because also seeing what I was doing and being very like, boom, like this is just what it is. This is matter of facts. Like this, let's stand bold for what we believe in. She knew if I was saying this, I wasn't playing around, and I wasn't, you know.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, do us a favor, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the video, like, and subscribe.